Well, I have not done much the past day. We did get all of our injectors cleaned, so they're here. So I guess I'll put this together really quick. Put it back on the motor. What do I feel like doing though? I really don't feel like doing rust. I mean, it's got to get done. I don't know if I'm going to do it this round. Maybe we'll gut the wiring. Yeah, the steering column. Will it work? I don't know. I guess we could. We could pull the dash out or the gauge cluster. Just rip all the wiring. Run a new wiring harness in here. Yeah, I think we'll at least do that. That way we can actually, when it comes time, we can get to this. We'll be able to fire it up once the few bits come in that we're needing. We could work with the steering column too. Get that done. I think what I'm going to do is try to bring this up as high as I can, then the steering won't be an issue at all. I realize I ordered the wrong U-joint, wobble joint for this, so I kind of screwed myself. We got a little more time now before we can do this. But anyways, we're going to do that. We're going to work on the steering. Once we get the wiring inside, I'll probably slap the wiring on the outside of this truck, or outside of the motor here, get it all run, and then we can kind of figure out where we're going to mount some stuff. I don't know on this one if I'm going to run the full fuse box or I'm going to cut the harness down. I might cut the harness down, and then that will leave... I can try to do a big directional video for some of you folks, but I've done that in the past, really, but we'll see. We'll start with that, and then we'll see where we go from there. I personally never run this evap thing. I'm not really sure what it does. Somebody will tell me. And then I just do everything wrong, but it seems to have been working for me. I take a bolt oversized and we'll just snug her in there. Win. Anyways, that plugs that hole. I guess if you needed vacuum, you could make something there, but eh. Anywho, we got that done. This thing is broken, so I'm gonna have to figure out, or I must have a spare one somewhere. This little boot thing has gotten torn or wrecked, so we'll figure that out. I probably just have one sitting in the shed. I only thought of it now. I don't know if I put the knock sensors in. That would suck. I may have been a little premature putting the intake on. Survey says I did not. Good thing I thought of that. Well, I would have figured it out in a minute after I was wiring it. Anyways, I'm going to find some knock sensors. We're going to put them in there. I wrecked. One of the wires got broken on the one I took off. Might scare a lot of people. So I slung the wiring on. It's not fully in place yet. Just so you folks know, mentally, if you're ever tearing one of these apart or doing the wiring harness, there is always, the worst thing is, there's 2 ground wires at the back of the motor. Make sure you have both of those, because there's one on this half of the harness and then there's one on the other one. So there's always 2 grounds there, and there's 1 ground that usually goes off this stud or something like that. I don't have it hooked up right now, but there is another ground wire in there. So if you don't have that, you'll have some problems. I'm not running any special transmission, so we got our front and then our rear O2, which is good because I couldn't find the O2s on this side of the harness, and I realized somebody must have cut it. So I'm gonna have to backtrack and figure out which one's what, but I can get at least the one O2 hooked up. Not a big problem. We can figure that out. I think I'm gonna run with the whole fuse box deal. This looks scary to folks. I'm going to break it down, but I have to test some things, so I don't know for sure yet. But really, out of all of this mess, this is what runs your motor, the middle one. And if you're using this fuse box, as far as I understand right now, if I remember right, this one is your start wire. You got to make sure your neutral safety or like it's in park. I don't have that with this setup, so I'm going to have to, well, actually I'll have a neutral safety, but different story. Won't hook into this one. I'll make sure in the computer it's turned off. So this should be your start. Worst case, you can always go to this purple out of this one. But anyways, this is supposed to be your start. This is key. There's 1 wire beside this one down here. I'll give you a better write-up on this once I can test and make sure stuff's right. But there's 1 wire on the side that powers up the transmission and sends power to the computer. It's not into this regular fuse box. It would be... it would come from the ignition, like the key, like the fuse box inside the truck. So you have to piggyback that. And then on this red plug is the gray wire that you would be running to your fuel pump. It'll run the relay and stuff. And then down here, this one plug, you have an A and a B. And this is the A they're saying you're supposed to feed to the battery and not this one. So I want to just confirm that. I don't know for sure yet. On that note, this is like an 03 and up. So this is drive-by cable, like with the electric gas pedal. That kind of setup. No, drive-by wire, sorry. So it's a drive-by wire setup. So that's the wiring schematic for a 99 to 2002 is different if you're using this box. Some of this applies, but it's not the same. So when next time I do one, I'll bring that up. But anyways, well, I'll be able to snip all of this. So this is all just garbage. Really, we only need the 3 wires out of here. This 1 wire, and then this wire. So like everything else can go away. And then I have this box, so compared to normally I don't have this junk. I'm going to trim this up. I'll be able to mount this onto the firewall, and then we can snap the original lid on it. So it should look pretty clean. Just the computer's the only thing I have to figure out a mount for it. And then I got to see where the fender is and stuff yet. So I don't know for sure, but anyways, enough babbling on that. Once I'm able to test this, I will go through this better for you folks that are trying to do one of these swaps anyways. But most of the time, if you buy a motor and they don't usually give you the fuse box. They'll usually just unscrew this, and then you have this group of wires, which is a much cleaner setup. But for this, I'm not too concerned. I'm going for easy peasy. Smash it on, done. That's my plan. Anyways, I'm going to go back to cleaning up, getting the wiring in place, and then I'll bring you guys back. So we've been playing around with this. Did I talk about this? We did this. I had an old hose, so I reflared it. That part's fine. I stuck it on top, realizing that's not the right outlet. The one way down below is where I got to snake that one to, so that's not a problem. We snipped all the wires we didn't need, so that's done. I decided to trim this box and things and just kind of temporarily mount it on the firewall, which actually makes for a really nice mount. I mean, it's big and ugly, but you know what? It works. And even this side here will cover up some stuff. Not that that's important, but I did cut that wing off of the box. Like if you... Can I take this off without... Nope. She's snapped in place pretty good there. Oh, there we go. So we're kind of using the stock garbage. So this is fine. We opened this up, did a little bit of trickery, but it'll do the part. It'll look nice. It won't be this ugly fuse box just kind of openly exposed. Anyways, we can flip this open. Here's our wires that we're going to need to run for stuff. I open the hole up here. We'll be able to run them straight into the cab. Along with the wiring harness, we'll be able to kind of sneak through there and kind of do our thing when we get to that. But for now, yeah. For now, come on. You are not cooperating with me here. There we go. Anyways, that's there. I am going to run... We're not going to run the battery on this side. We're going to like clean this post up. We're going to go and put the battery back in the original spot. So we'll just come off the starter with its own cable, a new ground. We will snake this one wire all the way through underneath. I know in the shed I have other ones. This one, the lug broke off of it. So I know I have some in the shed that aren't. So I'm going to do that, bring that back. We'll patch into this box. This box will feed our fuse box and our stuff inside the truck, our harness at that point. I guess the next thing to do is we're just going to go inside. I'm going to pull the gauges out and we're just going to rip all the wiring out and we're just going to start from scratch again. That's kind of my plan. And then like eventually I'm going to deal with this column, but not right now. Would have been nice if this had the blinky thing in there. I don't know how good... I don't trust them. I think I'll stick with this one. I think that's whatever. It'll fit the bill. But we do have to put the auto column in there. Our pedal's sitting there nicely. I am really hoping I didn't screw that part up. I noticed that that's right in line with my exhaust, so until I get my master, I'm really hoping it's not going to, when it goes down, interfere and hit the exhaust. I got too much stuff in the way here. Hopefully it doesn't smash down to the exhaust. If it does, we'll have to get creative and figure something out. But anyways, that's where we're at. Next steps, let's strip the inside of the cab out. By stripping that out, I'm going to pull all the wires and dash out. And then we'll start replumbing stuff from there. Or, I mean, we'll go upstairs, I'll grab my wiring harness, and we're going to start stringing that out. We can get stuff set up in here. right. Well, let's test a few things. One of these is supposed to be a light, which I don't think works. Must be burnt out. I don't have a bulb like that size. Next one, let's see if the heater works. It's not the most sound, but it is working and it's not blowing junk. So, that's a win. I'd like to hook it up to the fresh air thing, so I think I'm going to cut a hole in there so we can kind of build something for that, but alright. Cool. Well, we got everything out of the truck that we're going to reuse. I would really love to use the key, but I don't have the original top for this thing. I think it would light up and stuff, so I think that's super cool, but I'll dig around first. I do have an alternative, but not really ideal. Well, I don't know. It's fine. It'll work. We got our headlight switch. We got our gauges, which there's a mechanical oil, and then everything else is electric. So we saved the temp gauge out of the other truck. That is, we should be able to reuse it. I will have to drill and tap one of the heads, well, the opposite head, to be able to accept this thing, but that's okay. Other than that, hopefully all the gauges are good. This one looks like she got a little hot at some point. So, not sure what that's about. I'm sure we'll figure it out. Oh, I gotta find some buttons because we got signals. We got the high beam, but we don't have the one for the signals, so. Anyways, that's done. We pulled all the wiring out of the inside, clearly. I got all that stuff sitting on the dash. So everything's stripped out of here that we can do. And I pulled the heater out. I just want to go through that, check it. We tested the heater motor. It works. The fan switch does work, so that's cool. That's kind of the most important part with this one. It does have vacuum wipers, which is kind of a bummer, but hopefully they work. We'll find out. The tunnel, I can't really go with a flat floor, so we're going to have to patch this little bit here, which is no big deal. I brought out and test fit for my e-brake. We have to do that up here to be able to put stuff on the road. But it looks like I can kind of jimmy rig it up high, kind of out of the way. Should be fine. We're a ways away from that. As far as the inside, I honestly, I don't really want to paint it. It's super nice. As far as I'm concerned, it's really nice. The only thing that's got to change is the dash. I'm just going to paint the dash top. I love the look of all this old and where the key was rubbing. I think that's just cool. So we won't mess with much of that. I did pull the column out. I will test fit the what do you want to call it? The shifter on there, stuff like that. That is the plan. But I think for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab my wiring kit from upstairs. We're going to start slinging it out so we can run it through here, even though it's such an overkill of a harness I have for this truck, but whatever. It's at least headlight to taillight. They're cheap, so no real excuse why a fella shouldn't have some nice wiring on it, I guess. So let's go dig that out and we'll start laying it out and get it ready to throw in the truck. Alright folks, I think my video might get run on because I'm going to basically run through this. I know what I'm running is a 20 circuit, like a universal wiring kit. I get it on Amazon. They're from GSK Motor, whatever that is. I will try to put a link to it if I can remember in the description. I might even put it here. But anyways, everybody seems to, like, wiring seems to scare a lot of folks. And the truck that I'm doing, because it's not a GM, it's not using this stuff. I go with the bigger kits because it'll have wire to go to your headlights and all the way to the taillights. Whereas the cheaper ones, like these rat rod ones, don't have that. If you're ever looking in pictures on Amazon or something of the wiring harnesses and the kits that you can buy, the things I look for that tell me it's a pretty complete kit is when I see these 4 GM steering column plugs. When I usually see these in the pictures, I know that it's a pretty complete kit. And then sometimes you'll see they'll have the wires for the headlight pigtails. So that's a big indicator for me that I do know it'll have wires running straight to front to back. So anyways, with that said, this setup is going to get kind of murdered in my truck, so I don't know if I'll go too much detail on that. I'll kind of just walk around stringing the harness out, because everybody just looks at this and this is just a mess. Like, it scares the dickens out of them. If you look though, I don't know if you can see, every wire, actually every foot or so is labeled. Like, this is for a relay. I don't know what some of it is, I'll have to look, but it does have all your basic stuff in it. So it's kind of really overkill for my truck here, but that's okay. I have it. I'm sure I only paid like $150 for it, something like that. But let's run you folks through this, how I zone this thing out so it breaks it into manageable little chunks. By no way does my stuff stay clean once I do that, but at least it won't make somebody so scared to tackle wiring on their vehicle if they were doing a new one. Because if you place it out and map it out on the floor or whatever, it'll be so much easier when you drag it into the truck or vehicle, car, truck, whatever you want to do. This one, like I say, is for GM, so this would plug into your high-low beam switch. This would plug directly into, one way or the other, I don't know, directly into a GM steering column. And then these pins, you would actually blade into all of here, and then this would plug into the factory blinker or like an I did it column or whatever the heck. This would just work with that. So that's why these are great. Unfortunately, I'm like running it to this, so I'm just going to be snipping all of this, and then these are going to go to an old school blinker box. So whatever. You can buy the cheap one, but by the time you buy the wire to run to your headlight and your taillights, you're no further ahead. I really wanted to make this video like a nice video for you all on how to wire this right. And in the end, there's a lot of babbling and it didn't work out. So, basically that harness, the best thing to do is cut everything loose and just start from scratch. Like just all the wires bare, and then you kind of zone things out. The problem being is some of it is the fact that it's made for this truck. So there's always a different application, but anywho, we busted down to what had to go to the key, which was that section. So you see me wire it, but I wired up the key. We're going to just leave the dimmer switch as it came in the kit. I reverse engineered that blinker box, so it goes to my signal, and then my headlight switch. So what I did is I busted stuff into zones. So anything that had to do with my dash, blinker lights, temp gauge, all that kind of stuff, that went there. So then we patched that up. Everything was labeled, but they were in weird places in the harness. But we ran everything, running lights, headlight power, like running lights for the front, running lights for the back, and then my dash lights. They all kind of went to that section. I finished it, wired it up. You'll see a brown wire, which is random. Normally, this is actually my fuel gauge. Normally, I would piggyback with the rear wiring harness, but it didn't, because my fuel tank is in the truck. I have to just run it under the floor, or it's going to be in the truck. So anyways, then we bust out to, like, this is a whole lot of it being a 20 circuit. This is like radio, heater, just stuff under the dash kind of thing that you could put power to. So we just bundled that as a bundle. So that's good. Then up in this section here, then we made another harness that goes to the front of the truck. So this is like your high beam, low beam, marker lights, and signal lights into the front. This truck, because it's got a mechanical oil gauge, I then just basically ran the electric water gauge here. There's another wire in here because I had the oil gauge, but then I realized I don't need that, so I'm going to cut that out after. And then I made another sub harness that goes under the hood. This is like coil, tack. This will be like the alternator wires, choke, things like that. That's all in here. And then what leaves us is like, what do you want going out the back? So we did signals / brake lights, running lights, and it has a backup light. So I'm going to leave that wire in there. We're going to run that down to the back. So if you I think I spent a couple hours at this, and I was trying to make this even cleaner than I normally do. I don't think I succeeded, but it is what it is. Oh, sorry. There's these two wires here, but they're going to run out. These are your brake lights. Like the brake light switch, one feeds power, and then one, when you push the brake, it comes back, right? Just in case you're wondering what that one is. So I don't think at all I've made this easy for somebody, other than if you look at this and you do zones, and then you just kind of, if this wire belongs here, you just kind of string it that way. So this is for the headlights and lights in the front, done. This is just for accessories inside the car, done. This one is like, I would do it like engine gauges and stuff like that. That's done. Then you got your coil, tack. You could bundle these together. That's whatever, personal preference. And then I do like whatever I need to go out the back of the truck. Normally I'd have like the fuel gauge there. This had a provision for a wire to run to for a fuel pump, but because we're running the LS, I have everything in there. So these are all my extra wires that I just ripped out. It had like a 4-way hazard dealio. I don't need it with that particular little blinker box, so I removed that. And then a couple other ones. There was a random relay. There's one relay in there, and it's just for the horn. So whatever, we left it in. This one I just took it out because I could use it somewhere for something. It's good to have. And then we just have some random loose wire of things that I don't need, the accessories. So we pulled some of those out. There's even more I could, because this thing has provisioning for like power windows and seats and all that stuff. But I just left that bundled up. It'll be a bundle of mess under the dash at some point. But anyways, I kind of did everything. I wired it all up. So what I'm going to do now is make a mess, tie this up, throw it through the dash hole, and well, maybe I won't do that yet. I think I'm gonna at least rattle can this dash. So for the dash, I was gonna throw the gauges in. I'm not gonna do it just yet. I'm gonna scuff this dash down. I think I'm just gonna paint it like a dark gray, so it's kind of off to this. It'll match the seat better, the one I want to use, which came out of that square body. So we'll have to make some brackets for it, but I won't know till my steering is in. There's a few things, but for now, I think we're just gonna scuff, shoot the dash, then we can put the wiring in and run it out and tap it into this gong show, which there's not really, out of all of this, there's only like 4 wires we're using. But we'll be able to run it through there. I think I'll be able to run most of the wiring through there and kind of hide it, make it nice and clean. I was going to run this blinker, but I don't think I'm going to run that one. I did have another high-low beam switch, so I'll probably leave the wiring in the cab for that. Anyways, let's start doing a scuff and shoot, and that way when it dries, I can start running all this wiring into there. So we had a bunch of dents in the dash, so we kind of addressed that, and figured I'd just sand it down, make the dash nice. You're probably wondering, why on earth am I spraying my window? Well, it and the rubber need to be replaced, so not a big deal. So we did that. I pulled the upper portion out, but I'm not going to put it in until after I do the glass. So this is the gray we're going to go with. And you'll probably see in a bit when I do the rest of it here. But I'm going to let this dry. We're going to sand it. We are going to rattle can it. And then once that's dry, I'm going to be able to, boom, start sliding in all the electrical in there. That is the plan. But for now, I got to wait till it dries. I'm going to do another coat of primer over there. And where we did the body work, so we can give this a quick sand and spurts a little bit of paint on there. Well, folks, I'm guessing, because it's the time of year, it's cold. It's cool anyways here. This paint is just not really drying. It's still kind of tacky. So I guess there's not much I can do. We're just going to have to let it sit and dry. Unfortunately, so I can't really I don't really want to throw the wiring in and kind of mess the paint up. Although there's a good chance I'll mess it up down the road anyways, but I think I'm going to have to let it sit. Sit and be. So I'm thinking we're gonna have to end it right here, or I'm gonna end it right here. We'll have to save that for the next round. I'm gonna try to make a goal for the next video to let's get the wiring in and see if we can plumb and actually get the motor to fire up. That would be, ooh, what a super win in my eyes. I'd like to have that happen. So I guess for now, this is where I'm going to leave her. I want to thank you folks for watching, and we will catch you on the next one when hopefully we make some engine noises.